This episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by Audible. Today on TRS, Jeremy Renner takes over for Matt Damon in the Bourne Legacy.
Today in movies, we just came out of a screening of the Bourne Legacy. Jeff is not with us, so we have Germain. You guys know Germain. Germain's been on the show plenty of times by now.
Thank you for coming
Germain
in, Germain.
Lussier
Thank
from
you.
Slash Film.
Thank you guys for having me.
And how else? Slash Film.
Slash Film.
Yeah.
That's
And
where-
how else?
And how
Slash
else?
Film.
I don't
Just
know, you
Slash
do the
Film.
radio thing, right?
I'm on Ron and Fez on Sirius XM.
There you go.
Yeah,
Nice.
so you might hear me there.
So, a little bit of a preamble here. This is the Bourne Legacy. This is the fourth movie to be inspired by Robert Ludlum's Bourne series. And
Were the
it
other
is-
ones inspired by, or were they?
They're all
Yeah,
inspired by.
There's none of them are
Tony
like Harry
Gilroy, who
Potter.
directed this and wrote this, co-wrote with his brother, has never ever read any Robert Ludlum book in the Bourne in series. So
Is
they're
that a
all
good thing?
inspired stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it.
So, as Jermaine just mentioned, this one's directed by Tony Gilroy. Tony Gilroy actually wrote the first three Bourne movies, as well as made his directorial debut with Michael Clayton, which I remember you loved.
yeah.
And Michael Clayton won
Michael Clayton.
multiple Academy Awards?
Nominated for multiple Academy Awards. I don't think it won anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
That was good. That was on my list
Great movie.
of top 5 movies of the year.
Then he did
Then he did
Duplicity.
Duplicity.
Yes.
And
I think then he's this.
and then is this.
And then
There's
is
another
this.
thing I was gonna say, but that's okay. I think that this is gonna be a tough movie to spoil. Even though they say many things in the trailers for this movie, I think we should start it first without spoiling.
I
what
wasn't
you
going to
would-
spoil
There's
anything
nothing. I don't think there's a lot you can spoil. I mean, basically, the Bourne Legacy. Like, there's no Matt Damon. Matt Damon is Jason Bourne, and he is the Bourne identity, supremacy and ultimatum. This is the Bourne Legacy. So the movie is about what legacy Jason Bourne left, and it takes the whole story of Jason Bourne and sort of expands on it, and it gives it a huge context.
And also, some of the Jason Bourne stuff is happening concurrently
Yes,
to the movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the interesting thing about the Bourne series is that the last, the one before this, Ultimatum, takes place in between the last two scenes of the Bourne Supremacy. This movie,
Interesting.
in large part, the first
step-
half of this movie happens
place-
concurrently with the Bourne Ultimatum.
Correct.
So this is like a Pulp Fiction. The entire fabric of this
Yeah.
series has this interesting interplay between movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
Legacy.
So this is- yeah.
Jeremy Renner plays another secret agent in the program Treadstone / Blackbriar
Or Brackbox.
/ whatever this one is called.
Yeah, there's a bunch of titles of
yeah,
things.
they just keep adding stuff.
Jermaine, what did you think of?
All right.
And what do you think of the Bourne series?
It's interesting because that's
Yeah.
good because I think the Bourne series I like the action, but they're a little too actiony for me. I thought they're really interesting.
Whoa.
Well, I like this movie
didn't know that
almost
was
better
possible.
than the other ones.
Yeah.
But I think it's more a Tony Gilroy movie than it is a Bourne movie. There's 3 action scenes in this movie, I believe. The rest of it is just very exposition-y, very plotty, and very interesting. And I found myself constantly engaged with it. But then you're like, when was the last action scene? Like, oh, there's a gun. Okay, then it goes, and some of the action is phenomenal in this. But I think it's very, very more about the story and the plot and setting up the world and maybe setting up more sequels than it is about this being a badass action movie like the first 3 Bourne movies are. So I like this movie, but I think it's not the action movie that you should expect from the other Bourne, like what you got from the other Bourne movies.
Well, it's a very different. Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah, and I think that was what inevitably I was sort of like Luke on this
Yeah, sure.
about. Because it's a very good movie. I like it. I'm a big Jeremy Renner fan. I've grown to love me some Jeremy Renner. And Rachel Weisz is on my list of people who are just amazing in
Sure.
anything.
And then there's Edward Norton and all these
Yeah,
other
you
people
just
in
start
this movie.
laying in
Yes,
people.
there's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's great. But the really funny thing is that the stuff that I really loved about the Bourne, especially the first one, had nothing to do with the sort of mishigas of what was happening.
Yeah.
It was sort of, that was like a side story to kind of alleviate this massive amount of tension that they were able to build with the action sequence of this guy on the run, right? So in the later movies, when they started becoming really sort of lore heavy, like I feel like this is like a deep lore Star Wars movie.
This one is.
You know what I mean? There was even some like metachlorian stuff that was happening where I was like, hey, you know what I mean? Where I was like, I don't need to know why this is happening or why these people are awesome. Jason Bourne's awesome. That's all I need to know. Wakes up, he's awesome. It's great. Harry Potter. You know what I mean? So there's the action was very, very good. However, the thing that I loved about the Bourne movies is that, and I just realized I was saying all this stuff to you and not to the camera, but hey, you know what, audience, the things that I love about them Bourne movies was that the way that they shoot the action, especially the fight scenes in the first movie, it's so visceral, but also it does what The Matrix did, which is, this is actually Matt Damon doing this.
Yeah.
You see that this is Matt Damon doing this. Keanu Reeves was actually doing that.
Right.
And in this movie, though I believe that this was really Jeremy Renner, the way that it was so chopped up, the thing that was great about the pace of the fight scenes in Bourne was that yes, it was some fast cutting, but then there was some also not fast cutting, where you see exactly what happened. The choreography is not lost on you as you're seeing it.
I think your memory might be filling in those blanks.
Yeah, I mean,
I just saw the first one.
Paul Greengrass did the second two,
Yeah.
and I think he sort of almost instituted a new way to do action that a lot of people have caught, which is like that, but there's a lot of cuts in there. I mean,
yes, but even the first one is very.
But I remember being able to really track the choreography and being like the pen fight, the rolled up newspaper, like there were so many great ideas. I felt like these fight scenes had
the second one.
Yeah, but I'm just saying through all of the things. But there's so many great ideas in those first three, and I feel like these fight scenes had the great ideas, but a lot of them I just missed because the way it was shot, and there were only three.
Yeah, well, like I said,
you know what I mean?
Like, I think it's a Tony Gilroy movie. It's more about the story.
I will say,
story,
and I will say, way more tension, way more. I mean, I was so tense this entire movie.
That's like Michael Clayton too,
yeah.
right?
The scene in the cab, the first scene in the cabin. I mean, that was like, I was like, somebody's gonna do something.
And like,
nothing.
No need for that tension.
No,
but
it's there.
Amazing because it's there.
Oh, it's there.
What did you do?
I want to get into spoilers.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah.
I don't know if there's tons of spoilers.
No one's going to say, oh, I can't believe the end of the movie was this. But I think if you want to not.
One more thing, real quick.
Okay,
which is
spoil things. Yes.
The thing that I loved about the first one, and I haven't seen the second or the third in a very long time, but I've seen the first one a bunch. Yeah. The thing that I loved about the first one was Matt Damon didn't feel like just a physical superhero.
I think
he felt like a brain, like he would speak in different languages and all this stuff, and I loved that portion of it. And there's almost none of that.
Well, that's what I want to go into with you guys.
Okay,
So this is, I would say, if you want to know nothing, don't watch. But if we're not going to,
we're not going to talk about
it. Major,
yeah, I think
the end just sort of happened. It was like, oh, that's the end of the movie. I feel like it's halfway through.
Yeah, totally right. The movie's like over 2 hours, and then the movie, you're like, wait, isn't there another act?
Yeah. Because the music starts, and you're like, wait a minute.
Well, that's what's weird about the music. The music, all the Bourne movies end on the same way. They end on that Moby song, and the shot pulls back and whatever. And I found it to be very odd because I found it to be jarring in this movie because this felt so little like a Bourne movie, other than the intercuts with the other thing.
Yeah.
The main reason is just what you were saying. Well, I think we've all always considered the Bourne movies a superhero movie, the way that like Sherlock Holmes is a superhero movie.
Sure.
His superpower is his smarts.
Yeah, pulling the fire thing off and taking the guy's headset and then walking out without beating people up.
Totally.
Way more impressive than I beat.
Or like when he's walking the guy in Waterloo Station in Bourne Ultimatum, it's like, okay, tie your shoe. And he goes to tie his shoe and the guys look just that second because he's using his intelligence to get out. But even the fight sequences, as you said, rolling up the newspaper to fight, or the magazine to fight, that's a really smart, clever thing, and he's able to do it because his body is at the height of human possibility.
Yeah.
But it feels very
but
human.
Go on.
No metachlorians, right?
Not yet.
Okay, this movie is like, I mean, the funny thing to me is at one point Jeremy Renner was going to be Captain America, right? That was a rumor at some point.
Okay, yeah.
This is Jeremy Renner as Captain America. I mean, these are super-powered soldiers fighting each other.
No, but I think he in this one he relies a lot on weaponry and sort of technology.
Well, but also healing powers, and I mean it's very.
It's super soldier. I mean, we're talking about midichlorians. That's what we're saying.
They're super soldiers in this movie.
Yeah.
And I found it to be. I mean, I can't believe it was such a departure from the series.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a movie that.
We don't think
it's such a mind of its own, right? I mean,
But I think it sort of takes those other movies. If you watch the other Bourne movies now and know that sort of this is what's happening behind the thing, you assume Jason Bourne went into the labs and stuff.
No, but they said that he's he was the first one. He wasn't Metachlorian. That's why it's not quite Metachlorians, because it's not saying, all his powers came from Metachlorians. That's why everyone didn't like Metachlorians.
I wonder how much we're going to have to pay George Lucas for this review.
I don't know, right? Yeah. So we didn't know that was what we were referring to until you said that.
What did you guys think of? Did you enjoy the superhero? I mean, he literally is. It's not. He doesn't have. His superpower isn't his fighting skills. He literally does have superpowers in this movie. It's just still played. But interestingly, like the Bourne movies, grounded spy action.
Yeah.
It made spy stuff feel real.
There's not much spy in this.
But this grounds superhero action.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it dances around the spy thing. Like there are some moments where you get a little bit of backstory of like his relationships with the Edward Norton character who never leaves an office, which is kind of upsetting. And
he was out in the field in a flashback.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's hints of it. Like so they hint at that stuff, and the action stuff is I can ride a motorcycle like crazy through the streets for like 45 minutes or something. And yes, he is super strong.
The espionage stuff is still played very grounded. It still has it feels like they're just guys who work at their desks and there's no like enhanced moment. All the stuff
no,
is,
it's
like,
true. All the like
fuzzy
task that. What do you mean? What
webcams
can we get that in an hour? You know what I mean? Like that
it
stuff
all
was all
still
fun.
feels grounded.
Yeah, that stuff felt very real.
Yeah.
Or at least it felt not heightened and
not
really extremely fake.
or whatever.
I will say I understand about the superhero stuff. What I did like about this movie a lot was sort of how the people who are chasing him are always behind him, and like we get such a clear version of that. He's done with this whole house, and the house is whatever, and they're at the house now, 2 days behind, and you sort of get this catch up, and I loved that sort of. So that's what really kept me in, is that the script and the writing really kept everything moving in different ways, and it
was a very interesting suspense sequence to have. Everyone, usually the hierarchy of knowledge is the other way around, where we know more and we're waiting for a good guy to oh no, he's going to run.
Especially in the first Bourne.
Yeah, and this was all the opposite of that, yet still was very tense and suspenseful.
Yeah.
If you had your druthers, would you prefer the super poweredness? I mean, this is the next level of things.
I honestly like
Or did you like the Bourne of old?
I don't know. I mean, I think, like I said, I like this movie because it gets you into this mythology and gives a little context to everything else. I definitely think the action is better and more prevalent in the other movies, and I guess that's probably what it is. I mean, for me, I like the action scenes in this, and I don't know why I have this sort of, maybe it's because I haven't revisited them in a long time, I don't have a huge love for the other three films. I definitely like them. So I don't know, I think maybe I prefer the superhero action.
I think for me, in the order would be watching the cabin scene at the beginning of this movie, then the first Bourne, then maybe the second Bourne, then the third Bourne. Maybe third, second. And then the rest of this movie. Okay. Because I mean, it's great. The stuff that wasn't about the Bourne stuff, the stuff that was like Hannah, you know what I mean? Like at the beginning of this movie, there was moments where I was like, this is like Hannah. I'm tense. I don't know what's happening.
Or the gray. If it fills the promise of the gray.
It does. Oh yeah, it definitely does. And I think the last scene, come on, it was, as this action set piece, is really impressive. There's some interesting different stuff in there.
Yeah.
And it goes on for a long time. And sort of finally, after hour 30 of here and there pitter patter, we finally get this Bourne action scene. And maybe he's a superhero, but
no fighting.
No, it's I know.
There's literally no fighting, no fists in the last 45 minutes.
That's true.
Well, I guess
no, none.
It definitely seems like it could be the setup for
more.
I feel like we haven't seen the last half of this movie yet.
No. I agree with that. If they were to bring Matt Damon back, the only way they could make a give him a strong enough antagonist, having already taken out Carl Urban and all the bad is to give him
make the super
power
soldier.
Guy,
give him like his sort of
Renner versus
Damon. And that's the rumor that they're going to do for the next one. Right. But I mean, we'll have to see how this opens before anything happens.
Yeah.
But.
I mean, it definitely. This is the thing. It's sort of like what we say in Versus. All four of these movies are great movies. Like, it's now we're just kind of nitpicking, like, which would be your favorite. You know what I mean? Like, they're all models. It's just, do you like a brunette or a blonde?
It is. I mean, if you like...
this definitely feels separate.
If you like Michael Clayton and you like duplicity and you like that sort of talky suspense, you're going to like this movie. If
you like half of this movie.
Yeah, well, yes. And then if you like Bourne and you like Jason and you like Matt Damon kicking ass, you're going to be like, walk out is a little disappointed because it's not that movie.
Yeah.
I think this is a strong movie. It's a flawed movie.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Yeah. Interesting.
You've been
Bourne
Legacy.
Legacy.
All right, everybody, be sure to stick around. We're going to be answering one of your Twitter questions right after this.
What just
But
happened?
first,
What
we want to
happened?
thank our
What's
sponsor.
funny?
Jeff?
What just happened?
Nah, it happened to me.
I want to talk about the Audible Swibble.
Yes.
Audible.com, my favorite. I don't like to pick favorites, but it's my favorite. It is the leading provider of downloadable audio books, digital spoken word entertainment. It is your place to read when who has the time to read. Audible makes it easy because they've got over 100,000 titles, every possible conceivable genre you could possibly want.
Is that a book, When Who Has Time to Read?
Yeah, it's Dr. Seuss.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Nice.
Tons of titles.
Tons of titles, every conceivable genre. Get yourself, learn something, have fun, read a fantasy book, science fiction book. There's got everything. And you don't have to, carve out time to curl up, even though it's fun to curl up with a book. You can do other things while you're listening to Audible books. You can commute, you can exercise, you can do your chores. I love it for that very reason. We're gonna hook you up with a free audio book of your choice just for watching our show. That's because we like you. Audible.com/totallyrad. Get your free audiobook, download it. 30-day free trial when you sign up today.
Listen
Audible.com/totallyrad. How about a book? Let's recommend a book. Ready Player One. I haven't mentioned that in a while. Listen to the audiobook of that. Will Wheaton does the reading of it. Quite fun to listen to.
Audible is how I read the Hunger Games, the first one.
Right.
Very good.
Super fun.
I'm sure there's a great adaptation of Dawson's Creek that you could listen to.
Oh, yeah.
The
Fan
novelization
fiction.
of the
Every
first
episode.
season,
Yep.
as read by the Vanderbeek.
Yeah.
Called Up Shit's Creek.
That's a yesterday reference. Hopefully you
quote
saw
us.
our episode yesterday.
Don't quote us on
But
that.
do that. Audible.com/totallyrad. Also send us backgrounds.
Yeah, fans at TotallyRadShow.com. See you tomorrow.
Check us out tomorrow for Radagories.
Today's Twitter question sent in with the hashtag TRSQ is sent in by Ty Belials at Piffman. Belials?
The Piffman.
Short round or data? We should do this on three.
Well, can we explain who those people are before we do that?
Short round, Indiana Jones, Data, Goonies.
Explained.
Key,
All right, here we go.
Key Kwan. Tribute to Key. I think his name's Key Kwan or something. It's Key though. I know that.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Short round or data on three. 1, 2, 3, say.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
I thought you were doing it right then.
But I mean, 1, 2, 3, whom?
Right.
Say it.
All right, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, data. Poor short
Just
round.
way more useful.
Way more useful.
Way more useful.
And cooler. And
Although the short round can kind of
He
drive.
tried to help. Yeah. I mean,
he's got extensions on his shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, come
He,
on.
he also gets himself caught.
And anybody that tells me there's no time for love, I don't want to be around them.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Data loves love.
Pinterest apparel, guys. Pinterest apparel.
Thank you so much at Piffman.